And we're back. We left off on chapter 7, Sam's farm. So in the last chapter, Sam got hurt, and I asked you guys to think about what might happen next. Let's see if your predictions are correct. Let's see what happens. I don't know, said Jack. This was one of the worst things that had ever happened. He pressed his finger against Sam's wrist to feel for his pulse, like he'd seen on TV and in movies. Sam's eyes opened. Giddy up, he said weakly. Jack laughed with relief. Whew! We were afraid you were dead, he said. Ain't dead yet, Sam whispered, blinking. But I am seeing stars and my ears are ringing. Does your head hurt? Asked Annie. Yes, bad, Sam said quietly, his eyes squinting with pain. You might have a concussion, Jack said. Is there a doctor nearby? 35, said Sam. Minutes? Asked Jack. Miles, whispered Sam. Whoa, that's really far, said Annie. I have to go home to our farm, said Sam. He struggled to sit up. Careful, said Jack. He couldn't remember what to do if someone had a concussion. With Jack and Annie's help, Sam managed to get on his feet. Thanks, the boy said. He staggered toward his horse, then swayed and collapsed onto the ground again. Sam, said Annie. She and Jack gently helped him back up to a standing position. Dizzy, just dizzy, said Sam. We'll help you get home, said Annie. You can't do it by yourself, right, Jack? Right, said Jack. He knew it was the right thing to do. But as soon as we get him home to his parents, we have to fight Abraham Lincoln, he thought. Sam can sit in front of me, and I'll hold on to him, Annie said to Jack. You can take the reins and walk alongside us. Okay, Jack kept holding Sam, while Annie unhitched the straps, freeing the horse. The wind had died down. The horse was calm as Annie coaxed her to a tree stump. She climbed onto the stump and then onto the horse's back. Your turn, Sam, said Jack. Jack held Sam's elbow as the gangly boy climbed onto the stump. Then Sam hauled himself onto the horse in front of Annie. He started to slump forward. Before he could slide off, Annie grabbed him and held him up. Got him? Said Jack. My cornmeal, Sam whispered. I'll get it, said Jack. He found a panel in the bottom of the grinder and opened it. Then he grabbed the empty sack and scooped the ground corn inside. Jack slung the sack over his shoulder. Then he picked up the reins and turned the horse around. Annie held Sam as Jack led the horse along the lonely road back the way they had come. This isn't the way things are supposed to happen, Jack thought. He knew they were supposed to trust the magic, but now they were helping the person who was supposed to help them. Where's your farm, Sam? Jack asked after a while. The boy didn't answer. Sam, said Annie, giving him a little shake. Your farm, where is it? Sam opened his eyes. Here, he said. Jack didn't see any sign of a farm. The only things up ahead were a small, windowless log cabin and a shed. A curl of smoke rose into the white sky. Here where? Asked Jack. Sam pointed to the cabin and shed. That's it? Jack thought. Sam's family must be really poor. Here's a picture. The cabin and shed were in a scrubby clearing. The clearing was dotted with piles of stone and stumps where trees had been chopped down. Not much of a farm, Jack thought, but at least they hadn't wasted a lot of time getting Sam home. Jack led the horse toward Sam's farm. The cabin not only had no windows, it didn't even have a door. A black bearskin hung over the entrance. The horse stopped near the lean-to shed. The sound of a cow mooing came from inside. I'll help you, Sam, Jack said. dropping the sack of cornmeal to the ground. "Careful, careful." Sam lowered himself down from the horse. When his feet touched the ground, Jack grabbed him. "Lean on me," he said. He put Sam's arm around his shoulders. "Got him?" asked Annie. "Yup," said Jack. As Jack and Sam stumbled toward the cabin, Annie slid off the horse and tied her to a fence post beside the shed. Then Annie grabbed a sack of cornmeal. She ran to the cabin and pushed aside the bearskins so Jack could help Sam inside. No one was home. The only light in the one-room cabin came from daylight streaming through big cracks between the logs of the walls. A low fire burned in a fireplace, but the air was cold and damp. The floor was made of dirt, and the crude furniture was made of planks of wood and tree stumps. Thank you, Jack," Sam said, breathing heavily. "You can just leave me right here." He took his arm from Jack's shoulder and crumpled onto the dirt floor. He curled up and lay shivering on his side. "This is not good," thought Jack. "You can't lie on the dirt, Sam," said Annie. "Don't you have a bed?" Sam pointed to a loft. "We'll help you," said Jack. Jack and Annie pulled Sam up from the floor. He put his arms around their shoulders, and they brought him to a row of wooden pegs that led to the loft. Sam managed to pull himself up the row of pegs. When he reached the top, he disappeared. "Now what?" Jack whispered to Annie. Sam moaned from the loft up above. "Poor kid," Annie murmured to Jack. "There's no one here to take care of him." Jack didn't know what to do. He wanted to help Sam, but they had to find Abraham Lincoln in the countryside before he returned to the White House, and he wasn't sure how long the magic would work. Another moan came from the loft. "We have to help Sam," Annie said. She climbed up the wooden pegs. Jack followed. As he crawled into the loft, he had to be careful not to bump his head on the ceiling. Light and cold air came through the cracks between the logs. Sam was lying on a bed of corn husks and dried leaves. His fingers were pressed against his head. Sounds like he's in a lot of pain, poor guy. "Does your head still hurt?" asked Annie. "Bad," said Sam. He kept pressing his forehead as if trying to push away the pain. "Where are your parents, Sam?" asked Jack. "Pa's gone," Sam said hoarsely. His eyes were squeezed shut. "Went to Kentucky last month." "Where's your mother?" asked Annie. Sam just shook his head. "Can you tell us where your mother is?" Annie asked. "Dead. She's dead. She died last year," Sam said, covering his eyes with his arm. "Oh no," said Annie. "Is there anyone who can take care of you?" Jack asked. He couldn't imagine being so alone. "My sister Sarah," Sam said in a muffled voice. "Where's Sarah now?" asked Jack. "School," said Sam. "When does she get home?" asked Jack. "After dark," said Sam. "After dark," said Annie. "Short days in December," said Sam. December, thought Jack. When they'd landed at the White House, it had been March. Maybe Sam's head injury had confused him. "We're not leaving you, Sam," said Annie. "Not until Sarah comes home." "Don't have to stay," said Sam, wincing with pain. "We know we don't have to," said Jack, "but we want to." And he meant it. And that's the end of this chapter. The next one is called Into the Rough. Oh, that's my doorbell. Perfect timing. Hope you guys have a fabulous night. Sleep well, sweet dreams, and stay tuned for the next chapter. Have a good night. Bye-bye.